It was supposed to be just another wedding: flowers, laughter, elegant dresses, and shining smiles. But for Emma, it became a day she would never forget. While others arrived in expensive gowns and designer heels, Emma showed up in a plain white dress she had stitched herself. No makeup, no jewelry, just her honest smile and a heart full of love for the people around her. She didn't think she was doing anything wrong, but the whispers started the moment she stepped in. At first, it was just a few snickers. Then came the sly glances, the subtle giggles, and the cruel comments hidden behind fake smiles. Did she get lost on her way to the market? One woman muttered. Is she really wearing that to a wedding? Another scoffed. Even the host, a distant cousin, seemed embarrassed by her presence, carefully avoiding her during the introductions. As guests flaunted their designer outfits and posed for pictures, Emma quietly took a seat in the far corner, trying not to draw attention. But the more she tried to blend in, the more she stood out. The mocking wasn't loud, but it was enough to sting. Some guests took photos of her from a distance, sending them around with laughing emojis. Emma heard her name whispered in sarcastic tones, followed by chuckles that pierced deeper than any insult. It was humiliating, but she kept her head down and her composure intact. What they didn't know was that behind Emma's simplicity was a story, a powerful one that no one at that wedding could have imagined. As the day went on and the sun began to dip below the horizon, something unexpected happened. The very crowd that had mocked her would soon find themselves at the center of a lesson they wouldn't forget. What started as a moment of ridicule was about to turn into one of the most unforgettable revelations that would shake the entire gathering. So, who really was Emma? Why did she choose to come like that? And what could possibly happen that would leave everyone speechless? Emma wasn't always like this: quiet, reserved, content with fading into the background. Just a few years ago, she had a promising career in fashion design and was known for her sharp eye and graceful style. She had even walked red carpets with celebrities wearing her creations. But when her mother fell ill, everything changed. Emma gave up her dreams, sold her studio, and moved back to the small coastal town where she grew up. Life slowed down, and so did she. But she never lost her sense of dignity or the grace that came from within. What she wore today wasn't just a plain dress, it was a symbol of her journey, stitched with care from leftover fabric, simple but filled with heart. None of the guests knew that. To them, she was just the odd one out. They only saw what she lacked: glamour, style, the shine they associated with success. They didn't see the long nights she spent caring for her mother, or the talent hidden behind her calm eyes. They judged her in seconds, missing the depth behind her silence. The bride, a former client of Emma's from years ago, barely recognized her. And when she did, there was a flicker of something. Was it guilt or pride? No one could tell. Then came a twist no one expected. A well-known fashion blogger attending the wedding began live streaming snippets of the event. Her camera panned across the guests, capturing the luxury, the food, the dresses, and then paused on Emma. Just for a moment. Viewers began commenting. Who's that woman in white? She looks different. Real? Is she a model? The comments kept coming, faster now. Something about Emma's quiet elegance stood out, even on a crowded screen filled with flash. The blogger didn't say much, but curiosity was spreading. People wanted to know more. The very presence that had been mocked minutes ago was now being noticed for all the right reasons. Yet, inside the venue, Emma remained unaware of the storm brewing outside her quiet corner. She smiled gently at the kids playing nearby, completely unaware of how her simple presence was about to turn everything upside down. But was this sudden attention a blessing or the beginning of something even more unexpected? Back inside the wedding venue, the laughter grew louder, but it felt colder now. Emma noticed how certain people still threw glances her way, some curious, others amused. She pretended not to care, sipping slowly from her glass of water, but her fingers gripped the stem tighter each time she caught a glance. There was a strange shift in the air, like something was happening just beyond her awareness. Meanwhile, on the blogger's livestream, Emma's still image had gone viral. Within minutes, fashion pages and influencers were resharing the clip, calling her the mysterious wedding guest. People online were debating her identity. Some believed she was a minimalist icon. Others speculated she was a reclusive designer making a quiet comeback. Nobody guessed the truth, that she was simply a woman who had walked away from fame to care for her ailing mother. The irony was painful. Out there, strangers were praising her. In here, she was still being judged. Elsewhere, Olivia the bride was feeling uneasy. She remembered Emma from years ago, back when Emma's designs were the talk of fashion circles. Olivia had worn one of her gowns to a gala and received more compliments than she had in her life. But seeing Emma now, so plain, so quiet, stirred something uncomfortable. Was it guilt for not acknowledging her? Or shame that the woman she once admired was now sitting alone, ignored by everyone? Olivia tried to focus on her guests, but her eyes kept drifting back to that lonely corner dot in another part of the terrace. A group of influencers huddled together. One of them had recognized Emma from a feature in an old fashion magazine. "Isn't that Emma Carter?" she whispered. "She designed for celebrities, right?" Another shrugged. "Maybe, but look at her now. She doesn't even look the same." One of them zoomed in for a closer shot, ready to post a side-by-side comparison for clicks. But something about Emma's calm face made her hesitate. Outside, the buzz grew. Photographers were arriving. A few were even trying to enter the venue, curious to get a closer look at the woman who stole the internet, but no one inside truly understood the full weight of what was about to happen. And Emma, she still didn't know that her quiet strength had just started a ripple effect that none of them were prepared for. The evening sun dipped lower, casting long shadows across the marble terrace. Lanterns flickered to life, giving the wedding a soft golden glow. But beneath the surface, the tension had reached its peak. Emma still sat quietly, unaware that the entire internet had now taken a sudden, obsessive interest in her. Phones buzzed. In clutches of guests, screens lighting up with the same viral video, the woman in white, alone, graceful, and unbothered. The outside world was watching, but inside, the real storm was just beginning. A hush spread across the terrace as one of the photographers, somehow slipping past the event staff, approached Emma directly. Everyone turned. He didn't speak loudly, but his voice cut through the noise. "Excuse me, are you Emma Carter, the designer?" The moment the name dropped, the reactions were immediate. Olivia froze. The group of influencers gasped. Several heads turned sharply, and whispers grew louder. Emma blinked, caught off guard, then nodded gently. Gasps. One of the women who had been mocking her earlier nearly dropped her drink. Another fumbled for her phone. Suddenly, the woman everyone had ridiculed wasn't just someone simple. They were standing in front of a legend they had unknowingly humiliated. But Emma didn't flinch. Her voice was soft. "I don't do interviews," she said kindly. "Not anymore." She turned back to her seat, still calm, still grounded. Olivia's chest tightened. A wave of embarrassment flushed her cheeks. All this time, she had avoided Emma, allowed others to treat her coldly, never once stepping in to stop it. And now, as the truth unraveled, she felt the weight of her silence. But then came another twist. A young woman no older than 20 approached Emma with tears in her eyes. "I watched your interview 5 years ago," she said, trembling. "It changed my life. I'm in design school because of you." The guests fell completely silent. Emma looked at the girl, visibly moved, but still composed. She smiled, took her hand, and thanked her quietly. Suddenly, more guests shifted uncomfortably in their seats, realizing how wrong they'd been. But just as Emma stood to leave, another unexpected figure stepped forward, and the entire crowd gasped again. Something even bigger was about to be revealed. The crowd turned as a well-dressed man stepped forward, his presence commanding attention. His tailored navy suit, polished shoes, and quiet confidence made people instantly curious. He walked straight toward Emma without hesitation. Olivia's heart skipped. She knew who he was: Daniel Rivera, a powerful investor in the fashion world. and the man rumored to be backing a massive new label launch. No one expected to see him at this wedding. Whispers flew again, louder this time. Why is he here? Is he with Emma? Wait, are they working together? Emma looked up, surprised but not shaken. Daniel gave her a warm, respectful nod. I've been trying to reach you for weeks, he said, loud enough for those nearby to hear. Your old assistant mentioned you'd be here today. I wasn't sure I believed it. Emma raised a brow, cautious. Why? She asked quietly. Because the world needs to see you again, he said simply. Your story, your vision, your voice. It's time. The guests stood in stunned silence. The same people who mocked her were now hanging on her every breath. But that wasn't the twist. It came seconds later when Daniel turned to the crowd. She turned down a 7-figure deal from one of my partners last month, he said with a small smile. Said the offer didn't align with her values. That's when I knew I wasn't talking to just a designer, I was standing in front of a movement. A ripple of shock tore through the guests. Emma's silence hadn't been weakness, it had been quiet strength, chosen integrity. The same simplicity they laughed at was now being recognized as intentional, powerful, and visionary, but the twist didn't end there. Just as the moment hung heavy, a notification buzzed on several phones. A major fashion magazine had picked up the live stream and published a breaking headline. Forgotten designer found at wedding, internet demands her return. Photos of Emma sitting alone, smiling gently, now flooded every feed. People looked around nervously. Had they been caught on camera mocking her earlier? Had their faces been seen? The panic spread as reality settled in. This night wouldn't just be remembered, it would be watched, replayed, and judged by the world. Emma took a slow breath, her eyes scanning the sea of stunned faces. Everything had changed in minutes. The same people who had looked through her earlier were now hanging on her every move. She could feel their shame, their sudden need to rewrite the story they'd written about her. But Emma wasn't here for revenge. She stood, not to gloat, but because she had something to say. I didn't come here to prove anything, she said softly, her voice clear and calm. I came because I was invited. I came as myself. Her gaze met Olivia's, who stood frozen, hands trembling slightly. I gave up my career for my mother, Emma continued, and I have no regrets. But I didn't disappear. I chose a different path, one that didn't need applause to have meaning. The crowd stayed silent, the weight of her words sinking in. Olivia stepped forward, her voice shaky. Emma, I'm sorry, she whispered. I knew who you were. I just didn't know what to say. Emma nodded. I understand, but silence can speak louder than insults. I hope we all remember that. Then came the twist no one saw coming. From behind the crowd, an elderly woman, fragile but proud, stepped forward with the help of a caregiver. It was Emma's mother. The entire terrace gasped. Most had assumed she was gone, the reason Emma had left her world behind. But here she was alive, eyes full of tears, wrapped in a modest shawl. My daughter, she said with a trembling voice, gave up everything for me. And she never once complained. The audience broke. Some wept openly. Others turned away, ashamed. Emma walked to her mother, held her hand, and smiled. At that moment, Daniel stepped closer again. I know you turned down the deal, he said, gently, but I have a different offer. No money upfront, no controlling interest, just your name, your vision, and a chance to create something on your own terms. Emma looked at her mother, then at the crowd, and for the first time that night, she truly smiled. But just as the applause began to swell, a woman from the back shouted, Wait, there's something else about Emma you all don't know. Everyone turned to the woman at the back. She looked nervous but determined, clutching a folded piece of paper. Emma once helped my sister, she said, her voice shaky but sincere. She was just starting out and couldn't afford design school. Emma paid her tuition without ever revealing it was her. The crowd gasped again, not out of shock this time, but in awe. The woman added, My sister graduated last year. She's working in Paris now. She owes her success to someone who never asked for anything in return. tears filled more than a few eyes. Emma, quiet as ever, gave a small nod. She hadn't expected that story to be told, but she didn't try to deny it. It was never about recognition for her, it was about doing what was right. As the sun fully dipped beyond the horizon, the wedding lights shimmered like stars. The atmosphere had changed completely. There was no more mocking, no more whispering, just quiet admiration and deep respect. Olivia stepped beside her, eyes red but genuine. "You've taught us more in one night than we could have learned in years," she said. "I want to apologize not just for myself, but for everyone who judged you." Emma smiled gently. "Sometimes life teaches us through discomfort. Maybe tonight was just one of those lessons." Daniel gave her one last look. "My offer still stands," he said. "But even if you say no, I'll always respect the way you held your ground." Emma glanced at her mother, who smiled proudly. Then at the crowd, no longer strangers, but humbled witnesses. "Maybe the world doesn't need more trends," she said. "Maybe it needs more truth." With that, Emma helped her mother toward the exit. People stepped aside with reverence, watching her go, not because she demanded attention, but because she had earned something greater than fame. Dignity.by the next morning, Emma's story had spread everywhere. Headlines praised her grace. Fashion pages called her a quiet revolution, and people across the world found themselves reflecting not just on style, but on character. She came in silence, she left in strength, and in between, she reminded everyone watching that real elegance was never about the dress, it was always about the person wearing it.